We need music for when we go. Well, I think we're live now, possibly, but we need
I think
music.
We need an intro in general,
I think that's going to be on our to-do list. I know we've just started this Instagram thing that we haven't posted. It's brand new. So that's on the list. But I also think the music is very key right now.
You know what a lot of the podcasters do, Sean, is that they reach out to their audience and they suggest what we're suggesting now, an intro, and then they've got such a captive audience, or a wide audience, that there's someone out there that makes music or messes around with it as a hobby, and then they send in, and they've got all these different type of variations. Do you think any of our 9 subscribers are in the mix? Do you think they'll?
If you exclude the 2 of us,
I'm just going to keep with 9 subscribers, with or without me and you. I think we're a collective. I wouldn't want to discount that.
I'd love to reach out to anybody who would love to make us a intro and logo. I think, you know what I think we need to do, to be fair to anybody who would want to do that, is I think we need to put more mileage on this vehicle and get a little bit more, we're still kind of finding our place right now.
I think it's what's holding us back though, Sean. I think with an intro, it would just take off. That's that's what's holding us back.
Missing the intro. So
that is going to take us to 10. That will take us over the edge.
Well, we had actually, I'm so happy you're back, because I've been sort of groping around in the dark on my own. So for those of you who don't know, Hugh's been on holiday, and I've been sort of manning the fort, and I've done some videos that have actually gotten like a lot of traction, and part of that is because I found topics that were really trending, and for us it was a lot. I think we had a few broadcasts. We've had as many as 78 and 64 viewers on videos that we published, which normally we're hovering in the teens. Yeah. And in that, I really wish you were here for those, because it had nothing to do with me saying anything. I think I could have actually put like a chimpanzee in this seat and then put the title, so why is Trump suggesting delaying the 2020 election? And we would have had just as many people watching and typing to the monkey saying, well, I know why, he's trying to delay this election. So I think I was hitting on some interesting content, but did you happen to look at any of the comments on any of those videos?
Oh, so I watched the video that you talk about Trump, and so I saw the comments that came in. I didn't look at the YouTube comments below. Is that what you mean?
Well, it's the YouTube comments in general, which I might want to rate, because it's just opened up this whole world. I'm glad you watched the video, by the way. Thank you for tuning in.
You're welcome.
It's the comments have opened up a whole world of conspiracy theories that I didn't realize to what degree existed in this day and age.
Oh, okay.
And it's something that when we take a look at, and actually, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be quite evolved. I'm going to just change the title as we go of our broadcast. Modern Day Conspiracies. So how's that, mate?
Like it. What came up then? I'm interested.
Well, what it is I could go over exactly what it is, and some of it may be meaningful to you, and I'm just curious to see if this is going to derail. No, I can't do it while we're live. I'm going to do it this way. Sorry, mate. I'm not a tremendous multitasker here. So modern day conspiracy theories. I'll put topic. Watch what I'm going to do, mate. We are breaking new ground right now. Breaking the third wall.
So are we suddenly going to get a huge influx of people watching us, Sean?
100%. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
Yeah. So there's this whole world of conspiracy theories that have come across, because I did 2 videos that one of which was the two main ones that got the most traction were about COVID-19 and hydroxychloroquine. And my video was simply about there was a video where Trump retweeted 10 random doctors who made a video, and in that video they said we think it's wrong that people are not being prescribed hydroxychloroquine. Now, when you start to search these doctors' backgrounds, and there was one, Dr. Stella Emanuel, she actually had a very interesting background. I think she was based out of Kenya originally, where she got her medical degree, but she's been giving talks on her YouTube channel, I think it was, about how the devil makes people sick, and just very, very sort of fringe theory. If my doctor said this sort of stuff, it would really bother me. And my whole point in the video is why are people listening to these fringe conspiracy theorists over, let's say, your doctor, or not just your doctor, but what is it about government doctors? I'm not talking about government doctors, but like the CDC, the World Health Organization, the NHS, where people see a video with somebody named Dr. Stella Emanuel who has a white coat, and that's who they're going to listen to. That is my source. I know this is right. And that was what the video was on. And the stuff that came in was just incredible. Let me see if I can find some of the comments for you.
So as you're bringing that up, Sean, I'll just confirm as well, I did watch the video that you put out on that. I'd not seen that before. And I naturally then did a mild follow-up myself just to see what I found. And yeah, what you were reeling off then is exactly what I found in probably about 5 or 10 minutes. So they're all right straight away.
So your due diligence or your journey to find out whether this was content that was worthy of believing took about 10 minutes.
So let me give a caveat again, in that what she said was very compelling, and the way she said it in particular was. So she's telling you stuff, and me and everyone, the world, what we want to hear, that this isn't that big a deal. I've saved every single one of my patients by using this thing. Everyone do it. It's not a problem. These people that say this, they're talking rubbish. You can do it. You're like, oh, well, that's brilliant. And she's so convincing, and in her lab coat, and people with lab coats behind her. So people just aren't going any further because it's music to their ears. It's what they want to know. Why dig any further when they're hearing what they want to know? But, so off the back of you then criticizing that, I then looked into it. I personally wouldn't have shared that and been telling everyone to go out and listen to that. I probably would have followed up, but I followed up rapidly because of the way, because of your video and the points that you were making. So I think it's worth just pointing that out. Not like I was naturally went straight into researching 100%. It was a reaction to what you were saying as much as anything.
It's an interesting one. Do you feel like in that one that I was fair, or do you think I was a bit biased in that one?
I think but you were biased, but that was because what you read. So I think that would only naturally come through. And I think when I'm saying you're being biased, I think that's nowhere near as much as what other people are like when you're saying they're biased. So, there was like the odd kind of comment that you made. You may be a bit flippant or joking towards her, but so straight away I'm thinking, all right, this person's talk. I didn't have to hear what they said. I kind of sense this person's going to talk shit by the way that you were introducing it, if that makes sense. But no, I think in general, Sean, you're not someone that's really going to lay it on too thick anyway. Maybe it's because I know you a little bit more as well. But
I think in my comments, for those that have commented, and we had a handful of people who've commented over the 2 videos, I've been quite inviting, I think, and I try to not criticize people for having crazy views.
Yeah.
But the first comment that came back, I'll just share this. And it was just, I wanted, that's why I'm so happy you're back, because it was just like, I want Hugh to see this and tell me what he thinks. Because I don't, until Hugh knows what he thinks, I don't know what I think.
Oh, really? It's like that, is it?
Yeah. So it was just interesting.
Okay.
So the comments we had back was, so Steve Raymer, and Steve's actually, Steve, if you're watching, he's actually watched a few of our broadcasts. I've actually, 3 different live. Steve. So he's not on now, but hopefully he will be. So
he will be, Sean.
Steve, I've commented, and he's commented, and I've written back whilst I was doing my live streams a couple of weeks ago when I was the content I felt confident to speak about. And I've learned that I try to speak about things I'm not confident about. I'm terrible at it. But the key is zinc. The HCQ, in effect, opens the cell walls to allow zinc in. The body uses up the zinc in the process of fighting the virus. There's plenty of evidence to show the effectiveness of this treatment on coronavirus in the literature. If you doubt credibility of the one doctor, that's fine. Watch the video, listen to the rest of the speakers, and do your own research what they're saying. This is dirt simple, and while it should not be, it has become completely politicized. And then I wrote, I'll definitely have a look, and thanks for the sharing. We'll give you my view as well. I don't think the point of my video was about the efficacy of hydroxy, because I think one of the things that I said in that video was there are people that it's the verdict's out, really. And I don't think there's any reason why the president, as a non-doctor or non-medical professional or non-scientist, should be making any recommendations on medicine. And then in that, I just read, so the point of my video, there was a Yale medical professor this week who said hydroxy was beneficial, which I thought was intriguing. Why not reference this confirmed source? And I think that's more to the point, but it was just this whole idea as far as how people are just jumping on this bandwagon of, I see one video and I just follow that is my core belief. And actually it was the other video I wanted to highlight. Let me just go to that other one. It wasn't this one, but the other one, there was one comment. This video I actually really enjoyed this video because I did a lot of research on mail-in voting. I did a lot because it was a fascinating subject. And Catherine McKinney, did you read any of these at all by chance?
I've not seen that. I've not seen this video or that comment. So can I just quickly pass a comment on the last point as well?
Yes.
That you were saying that you can't really believe how someone would watch that video and take it on without kind of fact checking it and seeing who this person was. I'm on the reverse. I can totally understand that the most people would do that, and that's what I would expect, because she spoke with authority. She looked an authoritative figure in her appearance and with the people around her on the stage that she was in. Again, she spoke with so much venom and clarity and confidence that it was quite compelling. And you know, hydroxychloroquine, was it chloroquine? I don't even know how to say it. I didn't even know what it was prior to watching the video. So I can understand that most people would just watch that and take it as read, and that's it. Like, I don't need to do anything else. Someone more authoritative is telling me that, therefore that is the truth. So I'm not at all surprised that people, and for the point I made earlier, it's because it's what people want to hear. They want to know that there's a cure for it and everything's going to be okay. They wanted to hear exactly what that lady was saying. So I'm not surprised by people taking that stance at all. I'm not saying that's right or that I do, but I can I can totally get why most people would do that.
I think why I'm surprised is how easy it is. So if I'm making a claim, and any claim that I make, I expect somebody's going to challenge that claim. And if I see something on the internet that even if that looked official, it was retweeted by the president. So I think that is a good reason maybe to take it somewhat seriously. Whether you believe the president or not, that's something else. But I think I'm surprised at how little due diligence people put into researching their views or what's fueling their views. It's so easy just to go and read something and say, yep, that's what I believe, without doing any sort of investigation. And you see this plethora of, conspiracy theories that are along those lines that have been put in front of my plate that I can't comprehend how people can just believe these things, because I've done the research on these things and I can't find anything that says, yeah, I 100% can see why you think that. Because
they want to, because what they were being told, you're good looking, you're brilliant, you're fantastic, you're safe, you're going to be fine, is exactly what people want to hear. So when someone's telling them that, they're not, why look any further? Why keep prodding it and researching it to find the alternate to that? Like, as human beings, we're wired to find the path of least resistance. We're wired, homeostasis. We're there to try and find the mean. We don't want to be overthinking about anything if we can. We just want to focus on all the basics of life. So if she has the answers, we'll just listen to that and job done. So it actually takes us additional effort and strain to counter that and spend the time that we really do need to ensure that what she's saying is right. You've also got biases in play. So that, there's quite a lot of authoritarian bias in that. The fact that the screen that she was on, that her image, the way in which she was talking as well. So people just, there's those studies, I can't remember the name of the study, but where a person in a lab coat is telling someone to instigate an electric buzzer if the other person made a mistake in the quiz, and the person made a mistake in every single question, and they were putting up to life-threatening numbers of volts. And just because someone in a lab coat told them, well, look, can you instigate a vote? They did it. They listened to them. So I think it's ingrained in us, human nature. We have to actually counter that natural tendency to kind of double check and use our logic rather than just taking this thing for granted. So I think it's humans being humans, really.
I think it's something that we have to learn. And I think this is sort of a point where we are in social media, where I think for us to be allowed to have, and I think I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast where he was with Lex Friedman, actually. It was on. I'm catching up on these older Joe Rogan podcasts. Lex Friedman is, I think he's an AI scientist or an AI specialist. Fascinating interview. But they were talking about because he deals with AI, he has a podcast as well, Lex Friedman, that does AI, and he was speaking to what's his name, Twitter, Jack Dorsey.
Dorsey, yeah.
And when we start talking about what's on the internet, and I know you and I are pretty much aligned on you should just be able to publish whatever you want on the internet. And there's people that look at Twitter as a platform that's liberal leaning and is, maybe favors the left more so than anything else.
Yeah.
And Jack Dorsey actually, he believes that he wants a Twitter that is the Wild West. That's what he said to Joe Rogan. That's what he said to Lex Friedman in his interviews. But I think the issue comes down to things like, some of these conspiracy theories that are out, because there's an element where people aren't doing the due diligence because there's a lab coat. But some of these conspiracy theorists and some of the people that I speak to on a weekly basis, they spend a lot of time working to support their narrative. A lot of time. There's a lot of effort that goes into supporting this narrative. And these are the people that confuse me, because the amount of work they went in to come up with the narrative they're trying to sell me on takes me all of 5 minutes to debunk. And I'm not doing this, and I don't it's difficult for me to reply because some of these people I'm still quite close with. And I've had some interactions on Facebook this week about, things that were just patently false that somebody believed. And it's really hard to come back to somebody in a non-patronizing way and say, for instance, it was mail-in voting I was having a debate with somebody about. And he was saying, oh, well, the reason that it's a problem is all Democrats. So right now we're jumping into the realm of hyperbole. All Democrats want mail-in voting so they can, so the election can be fixed. And and it was just sort of, that was the narrative. This is what all Democrats want. We're in a world of hyperbole. And it took me not very long initially when I researched this to find out that in the history of mail-in voting, there's only been 2,000 total votes that have been tagged as fraudulent. How many votes? Now I'm talking like presidential elections in the US over the last 20 years. There's 250 million votes per presidential election alone. And the other point, mail-in ballots have never been, and it took me 2 minutes to go to Wikipedia and see how they send the ballots. You have to either request a ballot or you have to be a registered voter. You get sent, it's the same in this country, you get sent a barcoded ballot, and it is specific to you. And those ballots, when they're filled in, they're tracked by either the US mail or they're tracked by the UK Post. So if something goes wrong with them, you can just quickly go on the computer and see what's going on. And the people that I'm speaking to, those are the things that just blow my mind, that I just, I'm just going to keep, sharing the information that I have. But to put in that much work, to not spend the 5 minutes to see what the actual truth is mind blowing to me.
Again, I think it kind of counters my earlier point. It's then confirmation bias, isn't it? That they've got their opinion for who knows how many reasons. And then it's just going to the ends of the earth to try and confirm that they're right, even though they're wasting time and energy. And yet if they spent a fraction of that just opposing their view and just seeing it, what it is looking like on the other side, which I think every human being should try to train themselves to do, they might find an answer really quickly. But we're kind of married to our ideas and our thoughts and our beliefs. And the bias is running a show completely. And another bias, which is a very common one, is also likability bias. So, if you really like someone, you're much more willing and likely to listen to them and believe them. And yet if Trump says anything, I know there are a huge amount of people that will just disregard what he said, and they may have good reason to, but sadly, on occasions he may be saying something that is honest, but he's kind of done himself a disservice because of the dishonesty previously. But it kind of works both ways as well. But so this is the comment on the ballot video, is that right?
Yeah, so this is the one I wanted to share with you, because I read this and it was like, whoa, I had no idea that this sort of world existed. And I did a cursory search. I could see us doing a conspiracy theory set, a series at some point in the next year or so after all this madness is blown over. But so this was a conversation, we were just talking about mail-in voting, and I think I was having the same conversation about how, everything that we're hearing about mail-in voting being dangerous and bad is this video was interesting. Somebody did a test in Philadelphia where they just posted ballots everywhere. And it wasn't ballots. It was just envelopes. It wasn't even ballots. So ballots are going to look different than envelopes, to a P.O. box at some dumpy Philadelphia post office. And they checked to see if they all got in on time. And because they not all of them made it in 2 days, the answer was mail-in voting doesn't work. So there's a lot of problems with that in itself. And my video went into this. I was like, I'm going to give it a fair chance. By Dan Bongino, who's apparently multi-million subscriber broadcaster or podcaster. And I just went through it, and I just said, here's why I think that this experiment is terrible. I wish it was a good experiment. And that conversation led to this reply from Catherine. I think about 8 or 9 back and forths with her, but this one was just like, wow. So she wrote, not sure what you were referencing, but there's plenty of evidence and data on. So I was talking about the data on mail-in elections and not fraud. BLM is not about Black lives. It is about DNC power. So she's saying Democrat power. It is funded in part through George Soros, who I had to look up, as is Antifa, who is an anti-fascist sort of group in America, who are behind much of the mayhem. Soros' goal is one world government and to destroy the U.S. BLM leaders are trained Marxists. They are subversive techniques to make you think it's about Black lives when it isn't at all. BLM money goes straight to Act Blue, which funds, wait for it, Democratic candidates. So me saying the statement that this is about DNC power, it is, full stop. They will stop at nothing. Burning, looting, murdering is just in the bucket. Read the Marxist Manifesto. How many people were murdered in the 20th century under Marxism? 110 million, making Nazism look rather gentle. I'm just like, whoa.
No, yeah.
I was talking about mail-in voting. Yeah. And I think the reason it went this direction was, she had sort of alluded to these points, but not to the degree. And I just said, look, I've got no evidence for anything you're saying. Let's stay on the topic where we can, or provide me with something I can look up. All these police departments have been told to stand down. Ever wonder why BLM hasn't taken over Dallas or Orlando? They aren't run by Democrats. You can call me crazy, but it's totally verifiable. All of it, Seattle Pete. So just goes on to this whole world of, conspiracy theories and what people think about George Soros, who's this billionaire who has this idea about sort of like a one unified world. And I think when we take a look at what people think of these things in society now, when you look at things like George Soros, Black Lives Matter, Democrats want to take down, the world, labor, conservatives, it's us versus them. It's, people want to see, this one world order, whatever. To get to those conclusions, you have to make a lot of assumptions. And all of the stuff that I've looked up on any of these conspiracy theories, it's all, you have to connect about 4 or 5 dots to get to a conclusion. And the people in the sources they're citing, they don't know the people in the sources they're citing. They don't have any data to back up the sources they're citing. But these are almost like religious beliefs. And I've never seen, in the last few years, I've never seen politics take on sort of the spectrum of religious view. And this was the first time I looked at this and I said, this isn't a political post. This is a religious post. It very much is about belief.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure where she's based, but it seems like it's straight out of Assumptionville, Tennessee. It's like there are a number of very bold, wide-ranging statements there that have holes all over them. I just really find it difficult to take someone's point on board when you're saying all of the, and they always do, and that hyperbole that you mentioned earlier. This comment is riddled with it, and the sad thing is that there may, I don't know largely anything of what she's saying there to back it up, and she's not kind of putting forward a strong enough argument in my view because of some of the statements that she's made. So there may be even some elements of truth in some of that, but that's what I find one of the issues with conspiracy theories is that some of the things that have come up have been right. And that's part of the problem, is people feel, therefore, if that was right, this 1 in a million thing that happened, therefore all of this is right. The problem is there's so much garbage with it, and it's not followed up with real tangible kind of proof of it. It's a murky world, because a lot of it is kind of it's conspiracy because it's not widely known. So I don't know how people come up with some of this information. And well, I heard it from a source. Well, how did they get it as well? And again, I'm not standing here saying all of this stuff is bullshit. It isn't, but it just sounds like it needs to be tested. I think that's the problem for me. I can't listen to or read a statement like that and go, oh yeah, God, she's totally onto something. Like there are holes throughout it, sadly, which really weaken her argument, which is a shame, because she could be talking some truths in some of that. I wouldn't know, or the whole thing could be horseshit. I really don't know, but my kind of like spider sense is kind of tingling as you read that out.
And that is when I read this, I'm more fascinated, almost like I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but I know I've referred to my penchant for Walker, Texas Ranger. And this is the equivalent to me of literary Walker, Texas Ranger. Now, I watch Walker, Texas Ranger because it is a terrible TV show. But the fact that it's on TV is fascinating to me. And I love watching it because I'm like, wow, that's fascinating. And when I read these views, I just... The intellectual curiosity inside of me wants me to understand how someone can get to that point, and where I sort of disassociate from anybody. So let me read you my uncle. I made a post on Facebook, just sort of venting. I'm not going to go into it. I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. But again, there's this thing where Trump this week was saying that he was going to not fund the USPS, United States Postal Service, because right now it looks like it's going to be 70% mail-in votes. And right now, 33 states in the country, which most people don't even realize, allow mail-in voting. And I just vented saying this is dangerous. The person who's running in the election is trying to influence the process that's been legally agreed. So whether he likes mail-in voting or not is irrelevant. His job is to support government agencies.
I'd agree with that point.
If the Postal Service cannot do their job and deliver ballots, that isn't an issue with mail-in voting. That's an issue of, his job as president to maintain constitutional structures.
Yeah, to deliver that.
Yeah, that was my point. And I shared data. I said, look, 33 states allow mail-in voting. This isn't about absentee voting. Here's the process. Here's why it's safe. It's only 100 million more letters delivered. And I even stated in my post that December 16th to the 21st last year, the United States Postal Service mailed 28 million packages a day from the 16th to the 21st. I'm sure the U.S. can figure out a way to mail 100 to 150 million envelopes recorded delivery in a 6-week period.
But your point is right that I think we have to also counter, well, not we, but you have to counter the statement that you just made, that it's more than likely much more complicated than what you're making out. However, you put someone on the moon. You've worked out far greater issues than this, and this is something that's extremely important for the American public. It's who's going to be leading their country for 4 years, which is, has a massive consequence on everyone's lives. So it's something that you should be able to figure out. As you say, we're probably underplaying the complexity of it, but it's I'm sure it's not just impossible and that's it, let's just give up on
it. And that's exactly, I think, more to the point that if the Trump administration is bragging about getting a vaccine for the coronavirus 12 months faster than it's historically been done, and that's okay.
Great point. Yeah.
I need somebody from that side to tell me why that's believable, but it's not believable that we can send an extra 100 million votes. Fine. You don't agree is the next question. I don't agree with mail-in voting. That's fine. But 33 states have voted for something to happen. It is law. It is happening. So you need to give your full support to that. Yeah. It's a non-negotiable piece. And if you're not giving your full support, you are now influencing an election that you are subject to. So that
is dangerous. I agree.
And that's why I think it winds me up. And this leads into sort of, I guess we should do an update on how we're doing. But it's been a good week, trust me. But my uncle, I put that post on, and my uncle no, sorry, it wasn't my uncle. It was no, sorry, it was a friend of mine here posted. No, it was an uncle of mine. Sorry, posted just what did he share? He shared a link of a okay, sorry. This is it. Sorry, it's just taking a second to load up. He shared a link of one person that got arrested for holding back. It was something like 800 total. No, it's 200 total ballots, and that was his evidence as to why we couldn't send out 200 million votes. He got caught. He got arrested. They found the ballots. So he pretty much he had 200 of these that somehow he got a hold of, and he hid them, and he got arrested. So I essentially said, look, it's 200. You know, I said there's been more fraud in, you know, at the ballots than that. And then he replied with this, and it caught me off guard. Again, it kind of goes back to this. We are at war with communist Democrats. Chicago and California are in ruins. BLM, so back to Black Lives Matter, took over a mall and called it reparations. That was his response to why mail-in voting is bad and why the president shouldn't support mail-in voting.
Yeah.
What kind of world are we living in right now?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. There's that modern day conspiracy world. People just linking, you know, well, adding 1 + 1 and getting 13 from it. It's not really relevant to the point of something on their chest. They may or may not be right in what they're suggesting. However, it's really got nothing to do with the initial point that was raised and your counter. So it's really odd, isn't it? It just you're not really talking about the subject at hand there. I haven't disagreed with anything that you've said there. I think it's is it the perfect system? By the signs of it, no. But we're living in a very unideal world right now, and we're going to have to adjust to make it as fair as possible for everyone and as safe as everyone as possible during this current climate. So you're going to have to make some adjustments right now to try and make this work, because it's going to have a huge impact on the entire country for 4 years and a substantial amount of time. So yeah, I think what lacks in some of this is some really quality solutions as well, some alternatives. That if we don't go down that route, what is the safer, fairer alternative that's currently out there?
I mean, you mean for voting in general?
Yeah, like if it isn't for what people, I mean, they're bringing up all these other subjects, but if we just stick to that point in hand, then what else? If people do have genuine concern about it, then what else? What other options are there? And let's have a real discussion about that and explore some possibilities to how you could do this, fairer, safer, and minimize corruption. Again, you've got like blockchain technology out there just to try. There is stuff out there that's out there to reduce corruption and fairness in society. I don't see this as insurmountable, but
I think where we look at it, it's you have to, especially when you look at voting in general, you have to dispel and ignore any historical data that's out there. You just have to ignore it. People are ignoring it. Sorry, I'm not. And I think when you look at IT solutions, which I know we do banking by internet solutions, there's a lot of secure things that are done online. And as somebody who works in IT, there is still vulnerability because you have to depend on the people doing things correctly. And there is access points. So when you take a look at options like a ballot system or a mail-in system, you can't, from the comfort of your home, mass impact every ballot. Whereas I could crash the internet. I don't know if this is possible, but I can go down to the sea and I can cut off that internet line between, the US and the rest of the world. And now everybody can't vote online. Or there has been companies, even after, this GDPR thing in Europe, the data protection thing, BA, for example, they were fined, was it millions? Like something like £6 or £7 million. And they were, a very capable company to protect just names and addresses. We're talking about protecting, votes, names and addresses, which are, going to change the spectrum of the country moving forward if somebody gets elected who isn't meant to be, or if the election doesn't go ahead as planned because something goes wrong, there could be chaos, there could be protesting, there could be rioting. So I think people look at IT as a solution, but I think this is one of those areas where IT is actually right now not a viable solution.
Well, I think you're better placed than I am to understand that. That would have been my. I have to confess that would have been my suggestion, is having something online. But I think what you've made is a very relevant point. I think, is there any way you'd counter that by also not having the restriction and the time frame? I mean, I don't know how many people are out there. I don't quite understand why you have to wake up at 7 a.m. You have until 10 p.m. and why there's got to be that pressure, and why you couldn't put a bit more of a safety net, even having like 3-day window or something. Like, I don't see people. There must be people out there on the fence and not. I'm sure, but I would imagine that most people probably have the idea of where they're voting, because the parties are, I suppose, for the not for the benefit of society, so a polar opposite. So most people pretty much know where they stand. In a more ideal world, they'd be far closer together, and it would be harder, and you'd be really down to the nitty gritty. But people really know where they stand based on their beliefs. So I don't know why you need to crush it all into one day. Is my first point, and I think that people kind of generally in the United States know where they stand. I would have had to say online would, or via the phone might be another route. Some kind of like text option or app option where you can go on and make your statement of, that obviously has the security aspect, could be hacked, but can you trial that out on a system that's, I don't know.
I think that's I think I agree with everything you're saying as far as the time frame 100%. I think if, let's say, if we just put the mail-in piece to the side for a second, if we gave people more time to vote, even now with COVID, there would be less queues and there would be less, of a, I guess, crush of people going into one polling center and, causing issues for older people who might feel intimidated to go and vote. And I think the more I've looked at this, the more I'm very much a believer that mail-in voting is the best possible way to do that. I just see it's so hard. Think about how could you influence an election if every balloting place is a registered voter's address and every vote is fingerprinted to that person. It's got a barcode on it specific to that one voter. And a lot of states give you, like, they'll let you vote up to 6 weeks ahead of the election. Like, you can post your ballot in 6 weeks before the election. And my absentee ballot, actually, usually I send mine about 2 weeks beforehand, and it probably doesn't get counted until after the election, which isn't a big deal. So I think that for me, that just seems like it's the option that we need to be investing our time in. And it's something, I think, in the UK right now, you can vote without an excuse via mail.
I'll be honest, I wouldn't know. I've always gone to the local village here, but I mean, because I'm guessing COVID's the main factor, right? Am I missing something on that front?
No.
The fact that you're just trying to for the volumes of people all at once, and trying to socially distance. I don't see that as insurmountable either. Granted, I don't live in a city, so things might be a little bit different there. But if you were to bear that in mind and have a 7-day instead, and have even time slots that you book in, and have people look, if we can get around a supermarket, can we not get it's not like elections take long either. You're in the building for a minute, and I don't see how we couldn't get around that as an option if potentially. But none of this. I'm sure it's more complicated than I'm making out, but none of this just seems like a problem that should be holding people back to having a fair and safe election.
No, it's not, and that makes me wonder why it's not just a straightforward piece. It's part of it. I think we're sort of tying everything together we've spoken about, because part of the problem is the people that are against it are selling narratives that are unfounded in any fact whatsoever. So this isn't about me agreeing or disagreeing. It's about, I don't have the facts to disagree against. And people are taking on that narrative. And that is the reason why we're not, as let's say in America, why we're not pushing forward and giving everybody every option to vote. You would think that we want as many people to vote as possible. Now, the one narrative in every country is rich white people want power, and rich white people don't want a lot of voters, because there's more poor people in the world than rich people. And the whole idea is if you get more disenfranchised, more in the United States, more minority voters, you are going to see a liberal leaning government, because the liberal leaning government are the ones that are going to have more welfare programs. This is not my opinion. This is just generally the way things work. More assistance, more. So in the US, that means nationalized healthcare, which is similar to the military here. It's sort of a thing that the government manages, but in the US, it's considered socialist and anti-democratic. So you're going to see more of those programs, and that scares people, the rich people, because there's a lot of money in medicine. There's a lot of money in insurance. There's a lot of money in, there's a lot of business to be had by privatizing everything. You're giving a lot of CEOs and directors jobs. And that's where I think you tend to get this banging of heads. It's an issue that can very easily be overcome, but the people in power don't necessarily want to see that change happen too soon. They want to see in America 40% of the voters coming to the polls.
Yeah, again, I can't substantiate what you're saying. I don't, you could be talking out your ass. You could be talking.
Could be very well
it sounds like you're talking a lot of sense, and it makes logical sense to me. That more people, if everyone voted, it would be liberal leaning, because I think the majority of people would want assistance, as opposed to the more entrepreneurial, well, you'll find your own way and, bring yourselves up by the bootstraps. I think that's more of a minority mindset. So yes, I think most people would just want a path of being given more rather than, the opportunity to earn more. So yeah, I would agree with that assumption as well. And you just only have to watch a handful of documentaries and programs of some of the corruption behind government. Watching that called 13th, that documentary on Netflix, which I thought was really fascinating, and hearing about the private prison system and how they make money on manipulating the cheap rates that the inmates are producing. And actually, it's in the prison's favor to have the prison stacked full of people. They make more money that way. They're given more money. And then the money that they make is passed on to other organizations and politicians. And it's just, it's nasty. Again, I've taken that documentary for read. Might have holes all over it. But from what I saw, you were like, oh, it isn't good. And you can see that how that can lead to abuse. It's fucking complicated, to be honest, mate. And that's why I find myself switching off to a lot of it, because there's just so many different motives underlying. And it's a shame that the biggest motive, which is trying to help people, is just a smaller fraction of it. That seems to go missing in a lot of this. What is best for the people is really what the whole of politics should be about. And yet it seems it's probably the least important factor in many of the cases.
I think in America, the war on drugs is a good example of that, because you have, I saw, going back to Joe Rogan, I saw I had to stop listening to it at work because it was emotionally impacting me. And who was Joe speaking to? He was speaking to these two lawyers who were working with people that were wrongly convicted and working with a lot of people who were in jail for drug abuse. So you would have people that were, put in jail for having a large quantity of weed for something like 60 years who've not had any priors, or people who are on death row and the evidence against them is circumstantial. And in America, when you have the death penalty, it's something I would love to tackle at some point. In one of our shows, you have people who are being defended by lower quality, defense attorneys, and you have these prosecutors who are trying to hit targets, and you have a system. And this is my opinion. I just want to stress this. I don't have enough fact to back this up, but I believe there's a lot of discrimination in the judicial system. And in America, one thing these two lawyers said, I'm going to have to find it because I don't want to spend my time searching around whilst we're talking. But one of the things they said was, America has more people in prison than any other country. They have the biggest prison system. It's not per capita, but we have more people in prison than anywhere else, I think, per capita.
Yeah.
And the increase from, let's say, the 60s to present has been exponential.
It's ridiculous.
And actually, the crime rates have not changed. Actually, because I think Joe Rogan, in that, he was saying he spoke to a police officer from Baltimore, started off as a police officer and is now, I think, a human rights advocate. And that guy was a police officer something like 20 years ago, came back to Baltimore, and the city was was recognizable in the same issues, crime, problems that people in these poor areas were having. And it, for me, I forget how we got onto this topic, but for me, it's we talked about people at the top and people at the bottom being sort of stuck at the bottom, I think. But when you look at, for me, it's bonkers that people are in jail for drugs, for drug abuse. I don't think that that's something that's a health issue.
Yeah,
and I think
agree with you.
We deal with people that are hooked on heroin as criminals, and they're people that are sick. They're not bad people.
Yeah, I agree with you. And yet, something so blatant that not that long ago, which was the financial crisis in 2008, and the amount of bankers that wrecked millions of people's lives globally, and no one was culpable for it. No one went to jail over that. And it was, it was unreal that is blatant disregard to human welfare and greed, and it was disgusting. Lies, manipulation to try and maximize profits that fucked over a globe, and it took a while to get over, and yet no one went to jail for it. And yet you don't pay your tax for a period, then you're going to be in trouble. The door will be knocking. But those bigwigs got away with it, and it was even, and in some cases rewarded for it. Like people were given in those positions, were given promotions in the White House, that people were like behind some of those awful decisions. So it's like I can understand. Again, I'm not that well informed. I haven't got all the answers. I'm aware I could be talking out of my arse here, but from what I've seen and heard, I can understand why there's a lot of unrest. It seems unjust and unfair when you come across these different factors happening.
I think it's something that we, I wanted to use this, and to anybody watching, thank you for watching. I think this is a very random stream, but I think I wanted to get caught up with you and get these thoughts out and get your take on everything. And it's interesting because I think there's a lot of stuff that we can allocate for time to speak on. A lot of these issues, I think, we really need to dedicate more time than we are to it. But I think it's good to highlight these things. I think there's something else we really need to bring up. There's something that I have to share with you as well. It's very important that you see this. So you mind just paying attention for a second? I'm just going to put it on the screen. I'm not going to give any context.
You carry on.
I think it's really important. As we're on these issues. Hold on one second. As I am not hold on. I know you're wondering what it is I'm going to show you.
I'm intrigued.
It's just, I saw this and I thought I really need to share this with you. So I saw this thing and it happened, and I saw this and I couldn't believe somebody made a video like this. Here it is. It's pretty serious. Can you hear it?
I can.
Good. That's Mike Piazza. He's an actual baseball player. He's retired.
Excuse me.
Yeah?
Why are you swinging that baseball bat?
Well, I'm a baseball player.
But why did you bring it here to the beach?
Well, I'm trying to keep my swing sharp while we're on strike.
Just don't hit anybody.
Help! Over here! Help! Somebody help me!
This is amazing. I had to share this with
Grab
you.
the can! I know the water's shallow, but it's still dangerous. In a very strong rip current.
Yeah, it is strong.
He's such a good actor.
Yeah, why don't I try? You pull me back. And I'm exactly how you feel. You okay? Yeah.
Hey, aren't you Mike Piazza?
Mate, I'm sorry, but I had to share that with you. It is the greatest thing I think I've ever seen.
Was that a documentary?
I think it was probably one of those fly on the wall documentaries.
I think so.
Mike Piazza, like maybe they were doing a documentary. So I just wanted to share this because I was intrigued that Mike Piazza, baseball player, he was very famous at this time Baywatch was on, made a decision that I need to go practice. And I just want to get some swings of my bat in. And I have this lovely big mansion. However, it's a nice day. So I thought maybe I'll go to the beach and swing my wooden bat where people are going to be running around and playing.
Yeah.
And that like for me, it's you don't get, in this day and age, people are just so very close-minded to new techniques and how to better themselves. I mean, the feng shui of going out there and just it blew my mind. I thought this was a great piece of cinematography.
He's just getting some reps in. You know what you're supposed to do. It's a nice day. You go down to the beach. You know what do famous people want? They want to, they want to go in the middle of like loads of people that could come up and harass them. Seemingly, no one seems that bothered that he's there. But just to make sure people know who he is, wear your jersey as well as you go down there, so everyone can see that.
Because every time I see a professional athlete like just out on their own, I always wonder why aren't they wearing their jersey with their name on it?
Exactly.
How am I going to know who they are?
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a no-brainer.
What was seemingly unbelievable was the fact that she was crouching down in the water at barely shin height depth, and clearly at this bit you can see. I was like, well, she's sitting down in the water, and then Pamela Anderson walking in with him, talking as calm as you like about it could be really dangerous here, and they're like. And she is so blatantly trying to pull them back in. It's just like it's quite an unreal piece of TV.
I question her training right now because she is a trained lifeguard.
How dare you?
No. Hear me out. She is a trained lifeguard, and she is going in to save this person who is, it's a riptide. I don't know what that's like. She could be being sucked out to sea right now. And Mike Piazza, I understand he's a very strong, capable individual, probably has no training in of lifeguarding. And she has allowed him to go into this rip current with her to save a life, untrained.
He's a hero, Sean. That's why. He put his life on the line to help out. She didn't ask him, but he was there for her.
And then the nice thing about it is she's so traumatized at this stage. Hey, are you Mike Piazza? Yes, I am.
Baywatch. Oh, mate, they don't make them like that anymore, do they? They really don't. It was that was a unique show, and my dad, probably like many other dads of the generation, used to religiously tune into it. We got a comment coming in. Religiously tune into it, I missed that show.
Well, John, I think you left, and we were so entrenched in this, and I think I was going on a bit of a dialogue, and I think John made the point here. The American judicial system is made for the rich. The more money, the more freedom you have, and I don't think anybody can really disagree with that.
I don't think you can. I think that's a very fair point. Hard to argue that point.
Yeah, I think it's just a fact of life, and I think when you take a look at, we were just on Baywatch, and I just want to make sure we're giving this the time of day, and I really wish we would have caught this sooner. I think when we take a look at, how the prison system works, how property works, and how everything is set up in society, it is set up for people that are, I guess, better off, and that's something difficult. Because in America right now, the divide is always, do we privatize everything and you sort of pull yourself up by the bootstraps? Is there any room for any, outreach? Should we be giving more money to inner cities, or should they be working themselves to, better their own neighborhoods? That's always a debate that's going to go on forever. And I think the answer is always going to be somewhere in the middle.
Sorry, I thought John was referring to the Baywatch clip because, you got old Baywatch boy, because he's rich. It's made for him. He could suddenly walk in when everyone else isn't allowed, but he was allowed to help Pam out without any kind of formal training. And it seems like he got away with it scot-free. There's nothing. There's no repercussion. If anything, he's rewarded by this fit girl kind of coming onto him at the end.
I think I think that's a very good point. I don't think if I was there with a baseball bat, with kind of a big guy, cracking my ass, hanging out, swinging a baseball bat, first thing Pam Anderson would do, she would just tell me, get the hell off the beach with the baseball bat.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if I then tried to go in the water, she'd be like, are you crazy? You were just that guy on the beach. This is Mike Piazza. Yes, Mike Piazza, please come and help me out.
John had a strong point. Thank you for commenting on that video.
Thank you. What I need to do is I'm so used to not having comments that when they come in, I need to be faster.
I know what you mean. We got to kind of get hopefully we'll get more used to it, Sean. But I'm the same as you, mate. I was kind of halfway talking, it threw me off my point as I was like, oh, someone's commented. It's great. So yeah, joking aside, thanks for passing on your comment, John. I think we're both in agreement with you on that front.
So anything? So just sort of to digress from this, I'm going to try to find more clips like that. I think there's a part of me. I think I want to do 80s TV show reviews.
Oh yeah, what a great idea!
What do you think?
Yeah.
What if we did we could do? Yes, we need to pick. Well, how would we do it? How would we do an A-Team review?
Watch a scene like we just like what we've just done there. The realism and how things have changed, and some points of reference. Maybe even some of the stuff that they brought up. I mean, I reckon it would be fascinating to watch an 80s TV show now.
We do. That's kind of a thing that I've gotten into.
Okay.
I'm very well educated on 80s TV now, because they're now accessible. They're especially in the UK. They seem to be replaying a lot of the TV shows I grew up watching.
Well, so one Columbo, of the best, big Columbo,
huge. He's my favorite superhero, the best. Yep. Columbo. I would have loved to have seen a Columbo Murder, She Wrote, because there's that whole thing that Jessica, and this is another thing we need to talk. We have to talk about this. Doing this, I am so psyched up about this. Would you hear that? A little thunder. What I've seen, I would love to see Columbo, because there's a whole running fan theory that Jessica from Murder, She Wrote. Have you seen any Murder, She Wrote?
Like Lou's watched it. I think my mum may have, and I've never watched an episode, and I refuse to. Yeah. But so I've I know who she is. Is she a writer? She's a crime writer, and yet she solves cases.
So the anthology of hold on, let me do this right. You're not in a rush, are you right now?
No, not at all. No, we carry on.
Let's do this. So
talk me through it.
Okay, so talking you through Murder, She Wrote. All right. So the next segment, Murder, She Wrote. So this is an example of a TV show, like all of these TV shows, and I need to give you homework. So Jessica, Murder, She Wrote. I think she was a writing teacher or a university. She was a writing instructor, and she had a book published. She's very modest. Lives in this very white community of Cabot Cove, Maine, and she's a crime writer. And she's got a very sharp mind. She is very, I'd say, for a female heroine, very progressive, very strong person, but very lovely and very, very much like everyone's nan or everyone's grandma. And she hits bestseller and becomes this rich and famous crime writer. So the series is her effectively going and visiting rich people. Everybody wears suits. Everybody has a liquor cabinet and liquor, like a bar, and they're always having a drink of their Cavassier. And wherever she goes, somebody is murdered. Now, normally you have police who would then investigate the murder. However, the police aren't capable, and therefore Jessica, who is there, just happens to be there, works with the police and solves the crime. I don't know. There's 5 or 6 seasons, and there's some where they didn't have her on, where they had some other guy who jumped in, a friend of hers who was some British insurance investigator. It's cringy bad. It's good. I like the cringy bad though. But the theory is she has probably been viewed to or been around something like, I want to say 70, 80 murders. But the show doesn't talk about this in context. So no. 70, 80 murders. And Columbo, he investigates rich criminals. I don't know if you've ever watched Columbo.
It's very much the same as my previous point. I think Lou would have seen it. I think might have even watched part of one with you. I've never sat from start to finish and watched a whole episode.
It's genius, but
probably Columbo, never will.
You should. But Columbo would investigate, and I would love to see a Columbo versus Jessica, because Jessica is a genius. Columbo is as well. He's an amazing investigator. The theory is Jessica, it's not a coincidence. She's been around 70 murders. She happens every time she rocks up to her nephews or her nieces or goes to like some business thing, somebody dies. The common denominator is Jessica. But it's interesting when you watch these shows. This show is one of my favorites for 80s culture. And I think part of it is a nostalgia piece. Because in these shows, everybody is always wearing a suit. So always wearing a suit. But she only hangs out with rich people. And in 80s culture, rich people wear suits every day of the week. We're going to go out for dinner. I'm going to wear my suit. We're going to go out for lunch. I'm going to wear my suit. Going to the park. I'm going to wear my suit. Everybody has, like I said, their table. So they'll always be, oh, would you like a drink? And they'd have a table full of, what do they call them? The drink, the crystal drink things, snifters or whatever they are, would always have like pre-poured drinks. They have help servants coming around and pouring drinks for them. And just the whole 80s culture thing. It's just so, it's beautiful. People with fax machines and mobile phones that are this big.
I love it. About so I think, like you're saying, for me, the nostalgia piece is massive. How good is it when you just listen back to some of the music and the fashions, and there's something very sweet about that. I think as well, but the writing is, you think of the shows they create nowadays as well, with the storylines and the plots and the twists and the turns. It's come on to so many different levels. It's just fascinating going back and watching some of that. To be frank, you could kind of say that about a lot of things, like go and watch 80s sport. Like, see, some of it still holds its own tremendously, but there are some levels you look back like, oh my God, I thought this was the greatest player ever, or this, that team was unplayable. But then you look at, the technology and how things have moved on. It's a very nice thing to look back, actually, in general. And you think the fashions and musics in particular really gets me. I really like that.
I think we need to review the A-Team next show.
Yeah,
I think we need to get some. I'm going to get some clips. I like this because it's just trying to feel out what our direction is, and this is very feel good. And a lot of things.
Could
right
the
now
A-Team work today? So putting this across and having a look at, at some scenes. Is this something that could, genuinely really take it seriously? Could we actually? Is there a chance this could work?
So what I'll do, because I think I'd really like to get my teeth into this one, do this sort of this series. I'm going to find the anthology of the A-Team, and I'm going to bullet point it so we know how they became the A-Team. Just a quick overview.
I thought we got that in every single introduction.
We do, yes, but there's more nuance to this, my friend. It's not just. You know what we'll do? We will watch the opening credit. But I'm not going to waste the content because there's so many things the A-Team did that were very them. They had their own style, and they had there was things that had to happen in every episode. Have you watched?
It's like the tick box, wasn't it?
The one that fascinated me to watch again, and I watched it with Nick. Have you ever watched the original Dukes of Hazzard?
Never ever watched that, no.
Mate. You would, I think, like it actually. What I found, if we compared Dukes of Hazzard, which was as a child, it wasn't a comedy. As a child, it was like a feel-good TV show about Bo and Luke Duke, right and wrongs. They did some bad at the time. The things they did that were wrong and illegal, I didn't realize they were doing wrong and illegal things. So they drove around jumping bridges and all that shit. They were dangerous. They were a dangerous couple to have in the community. Right. I don't want to kill my thunder on this, but the thing that I found watching that show, if you compare it to, let's say, Murder, She Wrote, or another show that I'd like to do a thing on is Miami Vice. That show is a fascinating show to watch.
He was
Don Johnson. Don Johnson.
I didn't watch that.
So I'll have to put together, give you some sort of a thing that you can get a heads up on, or maybe what I can do is I can give you one episode to watch before on these ones if we ever do one on, let's say, Miami Vice, and I'll say this is the quintessential Miami Vice.
Right.
But when you look at Dukes of Hazzard, it is a silly, ridiculous show. But I'm finding now that I've seen it in the last month for the first time in years, it's really quite intelligent. I'll debate this with Nick, but I think there's a lot of craft that goes into that show. And I would love it if you watched an episode. I'm going to try to find you. It's only it's an hour, but without commercials, it's 40 minutes. But I'm going to try to find you.
There's another show that's popped in my head that one I did watch. The A-Team I was into. Other one was Knight Rider.
Yes, that's another one. All right, I'm making a list.
Knight Rider. Now that I'd love to see that tech again now.
So A-Team. Ooh. Can I share something with you?
Please.
You are going to want to watch this. Hold on. Oh my God, I can't. You are going to love me for this. Hold on. Here it is. I just want to find a scene. Oh, this. Hold on. Let me get it queued up.
God, I'm excited, Sean.
This is amazing. And then I'm going to find a clip. You are going to be happy about this. You said Knight Rider. This is along those themes.
Okay.
Ooh, hold on. No, I don't want to remove it. Add it to stream. You ready?
Let's go.
Tell me if you can't hear, by the way.
I can hear good. Oh, the music's gone.
This is the intro. Oh, hold on. Is it? Stop. Oh,
No, I just saw it. Right, okay. The music went. It started and it stopped.
Let me add it. Hold on. That was my fault. I don't think it was. I'm just saying it was. I kind of killed it. I wish it didn't go. I didn't kill it. It just. Here we go. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Yeah.
There's a hurricane.
That's their high-tech boat.
Over the water. Waiting in anticipation.
Miami.
For the
Party
Women everywhere.
time. Oh, look at the explosions in the background. Oh, I love the 80s, man.
I'm gonna find a scene from this that, like, I've seen these. Here's another one actually. Tom Selleck and Magnum PI.
Magnum PI. That is one of my favorite intro musics. We used to play that at university just to make me so happy.
Where is I'm gonna find, because I've watched these. I'm just gonna turn this one, take this off for a second.
Paradise. God. I think I might have seen one of those as well because I was such a big Hulk Hogan fan.
Because there was one scene that's just like I want to show you the inside of the boat.
But to be honest, Sean, this could stretch out to films as well because what brings me back is like all the Arnie's and
jewelry from
hold on. Sorry, mate. Go ahead.
No, this stretches back to films because when I watch like 80s films like Commando, like all the trashy action, Arnie's and Sly Stallone stuff, I just love it. It's just it terrible now, but like I just can't. It warms my heart, and I can't really put a finger on it. I just absolutely love it.
I think we're finding a fingerprint here to work with. I think I would love to do like film and TV show. Like every episode is an 80s, not an 80s, but a review. It doesn't have to be 80s, but it could be anything. But I wanted to share this. So this is a 4-minute.
Come on, let's watch it.
Party, except with expensive jewelry.
Hulk is an
And
amazing
he has
actor.
them on the boat where they can't get away.
You got the picture. He went out and he picked them and their boyfriends up on the beach. They went out and got real drunk. Then he brought out the diamond rings, the gold watches, and they brought out the cash.
He ripped them off?
No, everybody got ripped off by some modern-day pirates who've been attacking yachts from here to the Caribbean.
Selling merchandise.
Oh, wow.
Got another call. Catch you later.
Ah!
Yeah, how you doing, Hans? Hey, here you got that new Mercedes in stock. Oh, great. Yeah, I don't know. What color looks good to you?
Let's get his money clip on his bathing suit.
Green and silver.
It's like solid gold. See the ring he gave me? Have to do to get it. It's just like my smile. I got a great smile.
Wrap him up.
Something's gonna happen.
What makes you think that, Sean?
I haven't seen the scene actually. Ooh! How did they not see that?
Out of nowhere, out of the sea.
What do you want? Show me the stash now.
Show me the stash now.
Don't touch that. Hey, I'm cool.
Just take the whole thing. It's like this big. Just take. Why are you? So, by the way, just to pause it. This is my favorite thing about 80s TV. Can I go back on this? I'm on the wrong screen. This. He wedged his knife into the box He's got like a big. Just take the box. Why? is
Take the
he-
box. It's there. It carries all the stuff. It's leaving all his fingerprints all over it.
This was a different time. I'll give it. I'll just accept that.
Oh, clever man.
Hand it over. All of it.
Oh, I thought he was asking for something else.
Heard a mayday.
Oh,
Check out this boat.
The signal suddenly got cut off.
that is still a cool looking boat, though.
It is. Wait, look how big it is on the inside.
It's like a TARDIS.
Give me a second.
Like a house inside.
We gotta move
But
fast.
this has Knight
They
Rider
sure do.
technology in it.
Got it. 220 degrees south by southwest. Book it, brother.
Hang on. Rue and I took off after the
I love their
pirates, but
acting,
we had
like
a lot of ground to
G-forces
make
are
up.
taking over. It's going really fast because it's they sped up the speed of the camera.
The fastest boat in the world.
Wrap it up. You got 1 second. That goes for you, too. I said everything. Give me the one.
I love the sound over in the background
You're full
of the girls whimpering. That's After Effects. Why are they taking the women?
Oh, it's taking, he's kidnapping them.
Yeah.
What's the plan?
So how did they choose those two?
What's that about?
They're not going to get through that.
Not a chance.
I can freeze their engines with a laser pulse cannon.
He can freeze their engine with a laser pulse cannon. It's an incredible boat.
Fire anything? We've got hostages.
Not for long.
Disengage battle cloak.
How high the roof is as well.
Battle Cloak.
2 in the water.
Topside, let's go.
Oh, Battle Cloak. So I guess that's the roof. They lowered the roof. That's all he did. Is that the closest they could have gotten to him? Why did?
Hey, weird.
Gotta swim 50 meters to get to them.
Hold your breath.
Outsmarted him.
So the pirates got away?
That was just
God, mate.
so.
Well, you just made my day.
I think
That was fantastic.
Do you hear that, by the way?
No, what? It's lightning.
Okay, cool. I was just curious if I wasn't sharing my screen if the audio was coming with it. Well, mate, that was the most random, but I really enjoyed that stream today.
Yes, likewise. It's just great to be back, mate, chatting this through, and some of those clips were fantastic.
I'm calling next week an 18 week.
You what? Sorry,
I'm saying next week is 18 week.
let's do it.
18. I like this
All over
theme.
it.
Let's see how we get on with this. So I'm gonna put together a collage of clips. If there's any that you think of that you want me to find, let me know. We'll talk over the anthology, and I think we need a rating scale for our TV shows and films.
Sorry, I keep breaking. I don't know if it's mine or your end, mate.
I have
Say that
no
again.
idea.
I think you need a scale. What was the?
I think we need a rating scale.
A rating scale, right? Okay.
So we need a rating scale we need to come up with. We need to figure out what it is we're rating these shows off of, shows and films.
Okay. Coolness, realism, humor.
Yeah. I think they all go, so maybe like a 1 to 10 scale.
Out of 10?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might be my end, by the way. There's a thunderstorm rolling through here.
I don't know if you see my glasses going green because it's dark outside. I think we're about to get hit here as well.
I think you're getting the stuff that's been with us. So, listen, mate, I will get A-Team special set up. We'll do A-Team next week, and then we'll decide where we go from there with it. I'm
Perfect.
excited about this.
That sounds awesome. I'm looking forward to it already.
Yeah, it's just all the stuff that's going on. There's just so much negativity. The reason I like doing something like A-Team or taking a look and doing these reviews is it's such a distraction from what we have to deal with day to day and week to week.
It just makes you realize that life just, it doesn't have to be so serious all the time. You can watch some cheesy stuff and just escape for 5 minutes. It's great.
Yeah. All right, mate. Well, listen, you have a good week. And everybody, thank you for watching. It's the most random episode if you do get to sit through it. And we will catch up with you this time next week.
Yeah, take care, buddy. Have a great week. And thanks again, guys. See you soon.
See ya.